The movie opens in Sri Lanka in 2009. At that time, the country is practically under siege. No government can operate there because of a massive gang that calls itself the Tigers. No one could stand up to them. That is, until the Sri Lankan army decides to move in, clear the city of the gang and finish them off. A huge battle erupts between army and gang, and in the end the army wins thanks to its superior firepower. After that big battle, the army asks the nearby village to help clear the area, tells the others that they deserve the gold more than the army and that they won't report it, that it's finally time to do something for themselves. Because of that box, Raja and his friends begin attacking army patrols. They kill many soldiers and drag the chest themselves down to the shore so they can take a small boat and escape to India. On the Indian border, they decide to build their new empire, which will be under Raja's control from that day on. But the Indian police arrest them. During interrogation, the four young men refuse to divulge anything about themselves. The officer is about to rough them up or send them to jail when Raja produces a large gold bar. His friends show another. Now they hold four big bars, which can remember this moment. It matters later. Years pass. We cut to the Prime Minister's office in India. The Prime Minister receives a gift box from someone. When she opens it, she finds severed fingers inside and a note dripping with blood. The note is written by a small child begging her to rescue the villagers and their families from the terrible oppression and they have nothing to eat or drink. Moved by the child's plea, the Prime Minister summons a senior police officer named Sadia, has him read the note, and grants him full authority to help those villagers and arrest the criminals. Sadia wastes no time. He boards the first plane to the province where the village is. Before he arrives, meanwhile, a farmer plowing his field hits something with his plow. When he digs it up, he discovers bodies with their throats cut. The situation escalates. The police arrive, but the first squad that goes out is all female and led by Commander Vija. She questions the whole village to find out who did this. Her assistant says everyone knows, but no one will speak, and that makes Vija angry. She interrogates them herself, determined to find the killer. An old man stands up and says none of them will speak because they're terrified for what will happen to them. He goes to the body, grabs the victim's hand and raises it. The father of the young man is beside himself and the villagers start to cry. We learn the murdered victims are villagers themselves, but no one will reveal who did this until a small boy is determined to proceed. She intends to arrest the man today, come what may. On the way to the village, her men stop the car and flee, leaving her with only 3 female officers who insist on going with her no matter what. She presses on, arrives at Raja's compound and starts rounding up his men until she reaches Raja's father. She tells him she has come to arrest his son. Raja's father laughs at her and says his son isn't going anywhere. At that moment, Bardi, Raja's wife, steps outside. She initially speaks calmly and invites Vija to come in and have a drink with her and her men, a gesture that seems almost mocking. Vija lets her guard down, sits with her and asks about Raja, trying to avoid a scene. But suddenly Bardi transforms. She stabs Vija with a pen. The smile and charm vanish. Bardi orders her men to seize Vija and those with her. After some brutal torture, Bardi locks them in a storeroom and starts insulting Vija, telling her that the country no longer has male officers, that only a few women run around pretending to arrest her husband, and mocking Vija for thinking she could take on Raja. From the way Bardi speaks, it's clear she has absolute confidence in her husband. We then cut elsewhere to see an ordinary man named Baldev traveling by train like any common citizen. The train stops near Raja's village. Baldev decides to kill time by finding a restaurant. In a slightly rundown place, he meets an older woman who is worn out from work. He helps her, does her chores, then sits down to eat. While he is there, a gang bursts into the restaurant and begins smashing things. One thug knocks Baldev's food to the ground and insults him and the old woman. Calmly, Baldev confronts him. The thug lashes out, but Baldev grabs a plate and slams it into the thug's face, throws him to the floor, and fights the whole gang. A massive brawl ensues. Baldev doesn't stop until each attacker is broken. One of them tries to flee in a car, but Baldev grabs the vehicle and prevents it from moving. The driver panics and threatens that if his boss finds out, there will be trouble. Baldev replies coolly, "Tell your boss to come here and say it to my face." He finds out the gang leader's name is Ram. Baldev leaves the place and Ram is furious. We go to Ram's home, where he is an elderly man celebrating his daughter's wedding. Suddenly, the signal that Baldev is in town. Ram's men open fire, but Baldev arrives and decimates them. He tells Ram he's tired of apologies. Ram should apologize for what his men did. Ram refuses and says he won't leave the house, but Baldev drags him outside, beats him and his men senseless, and humiliates them. Ram tries to warn Baldev that if there will be no peace, there will be trouble. Baldev is not intimidated. He demands the brother's name and address. This is not the sort of man who is easily frightened. We cut to Inspector Satya finally arriving in the region with his officers on a plane, presumably to bring forces and free the village. But the journey will take 4 days. At the same time, someone calls the governor and tells him Satya has arrived. The governor rings Bardi and asks her to get things under control because many government officials are going to visit the village, and if they see anything bad, they could create a massive scandal. Back with Baldev, he takes Ram and goes to confront Ram's younger brother. The brother is a low-level government official who mistreats employees, and Baldev smashes his office door and confronts him. Baldev orders the brother to apologize. The official laughs and mocks him. Baldev then starts beating him and his men. Everyone is helpless before Baldev. He uses a ceiling fan pole as a weapon and terrorizes the staff, determined to make them apologize. He even tears apart the place, refusing to stop. He says, "Apologize," and on, smashing everything. The official thinks this is an exaggeration, but Baldev insists. The leader taunts him and calls on his men, but each man falls one after another. Baldev seizes a wooden beam and smashes it over them. The whole place turns into chaos. Baldev's assault is relentless. He demands to know who controls all the arms and money scattered around, why police uniforms are lying nearby, and who runs this operation. He follows a trail of blood to a storeroom, smashes the door and discovers racks of discarded police uniforms, female officer uniforms soaked with blood. He follows the blood trail, breaks into the storage, and the scene explodes into violence. One of Raja's men tries to strike him. Baldev pins him to the wall, smashes through the house, and scares everyone senseless. Raja's father demands that his men kill Baldev as an example, but Baldev continues to wreak havoc and scares them into submission. Even after the beating, he keeps going until there are no men left to oppose him. At that moment, Vija and her squad break free and arrive, beaten and battered. They look terrible. Baldev's onslaught had been murderous. Raja gets his hands on a rifle and aims at Baldev, but his gun doesn't fire. Baldev grabs a wooden door to shield himself, draws a pistol, and points it at Raja, telling him he's not the only one who has weapons and threatening to kill everyone if they do not surrender. Suddenly, Bardi appears and tries to calm her husband, advising him not to provoke things further because they don't need more trouble at that time. She argues that the government will eventually step in, and that patience is required. Raja reluctantly agrees to let Baldev bring the police in, But he warns Baldev he won't leave him be and promises to take revenge tenfold later. Sadia finally reaches the district boundary, and the governor offers him a bribe to stay out of the village. Sadia realizes the governor is corrupt and has enabled Raja's crimes. Sadia is determined to arrest Raja. He moves in with his men, but their vehicle is attacked by a large truck that overturns them. At the same time, Baldev is struggling. Raja has dispatched a massive force against him, not just one or two men but an army. Baldev fears for the women and children in the village. One girl is wounded. He drives her to the nearest village to seek help. He finds an old woman who gives the girl a cup of water, but the girl dies before she can drink. Baldev is stricken and fights Raja's men and their henchmen. The female officers gather themselves and help Baldev. Together they manage to capture the gang's men. The villagers feel their spirit revived. Finally, someone is defending them and seeking justice. Vijay tells Baldev about Raja. The governor had once met with a businessman and offered him the chance to take over the coastal village. But the law forbids seizing any village without the villagers' consent. The governor told the businessman that only one man could get the villagers to sign. Raja, the man who kills people and forces them to sign under duress. After that, Raja's daughter filmed the atrocities and uploaded them online. The villagers protested, but Raja's men slaughtered them. The girl who wrote the plea to the prime minister appeared and recounted how the villagers endured such humiliation that they amputated their own fingers to avoid mocking shame. Her letter moved Baldev to action. He vows to not leave the village until he has avenged Raja and restored the villagers' rights. Baldev first goes to file a formal complaint with the police, but finds the officers indifferent. In the police station, he is beaten and shackled in a chair when some young men attack a police officer with a pen and claim Baldev should be the one to die. A man in the cell warns the attacker not to kill Baldev. The man is killed for his warning. But Baldev awakens and, freed from chains, grabs a wooden beam and smashes his way free, beating everyone until he chains them by their necks from the ceiling. The inspector is frightened and surrenders, but Baldev ignores him and demands the location of the arms cache. He seizes all the weapons and leaves. He returns to Ram place. His brother and his men are hanging on ropes and set ablaze by the enraged villagers. The flames burn with vengeance. Ram's brother's men are tortured. Ram's hatred is burning inside. Sadia is still en route with reinforcements. He wants to call in special forces, but his superiors say he must wait for authorization. They do tell him they can contact someone nearby who can help, a single powerhouse operative, and hint that the man is Baldev, the strongest in India's special forces. Sadia remains skeptical but continues toward the village. Back to Raja. He goes to the businessman to hand over the concession documents. He arrives in military clothing. The businessman complains and suggests rough treatment. Raja's men start to empty a safe as if to settle the matter by force. Baldev reappears and creates hell in the business office. He kills most of Raja's men until only a few remain. Raja threatens to kill Baldev's daughter if Baldev comes close. Raja raises a gun at Baldev, but the villagers stand in front of him to protect Baldev. Baldev snatches the gun away, beats Raja badly, and finally the villagers drag Raja up and hang him by chains as punishment for his crimes. While this is happening, Sadia arrives at Raja's compound, intending to arrest Raja's wife and mother. Raja's wife commits suicide to avoid shame. Raja's mother dies of a heart attack from the shock. When Sadia reaches the port, he finds Raja hanging by the neck and immediately realizes Baldev is the one who did it. Sadia gives Baldev a military salute. The small girl who had written the letter runs to Sadia and hugs him. She asks him to contact her if she needs help, and he tells her to send him a message and he'll come. We follow Baldev as he resumes his journey. Whatever else happens, the film makes clear that justice, in the end, must wait. That is where our movie ends today. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next film. Goodbye.